Okay. Do I have to leave this thing up here? I'm good? This works? Can I take it off? All right. Thank you. I don't like standing behind one of those things. Sorry. So good evening, everybody. I am very, very happy to be here with you this evening, and I mean really, really happy. As some of you know, last week at this time, I had no idea how I was ever going to get home. How many of you have ever been to a hurricane party? Come on, I can hardly see. Okay, so tell me what that's like for you. Drinking, lots of drinking, right? Fun, loud music, sound. Okay, so how many of you have ever flown 1,700 miles to go to a hurricane party? Anybody? Well, that's what I did a week ago last Saturday. Me and three of my very closest friends got on an airplane on Saturday morning and headed to Cabo. I would like to tell you that I knew the hurricane was coming, but the reality is I hadn't paid any attention to the weather because I just hadn't had time. And we had planned this trip for over 12 months. So all of us were going, no matter what. And as we got on the plane Saturday morning, we had absolutely no idea what we were going to run into. We got to Cabo Saturday midday, had a great afternoon, lots of drinks at the bar, and had a wonderful dinner sitting on the rooftop restaurant that was part of our condo that we went to. These were all timeshare, so it was a 4-building complex, right on the water, right in Cabo. It was beautiful. We got up Sunday morning and decided, well, we needed to hit some place that we could bring some alcohol in with us for the week because we didn't want to spend all our money at the bar. So we figured if we brought some alcohol into the room, we'd at least be able to drink and sit in the hot tub and have a good time. And we started recognizing around us that people were actually moving furniture off the pool decks. And they were taking the bar apart on the beach. So we thought, well, you know, maybe this storm thing that they're talking about is a little bit more serious than we thought. But, you know, we're from Florida. We do hurricanes. We do, you know, tropical storms. We've been through that. I've lived here 30 plus years. We'll be okay. But while we're out there looking for the liquor, maybe we should take a stop at the Walmart and buy some bread and maybe some ham and cheese. So we did, and we got all that taken care of, and then we headed downtown Cabo for our lunch. Had a wonderful little lunch sitting on a restaurant right on the docks there. How many of you have been to Cabo? Okay, it's a beautiful little port area where all the boats are docked, and the marina was lovely. And as we're sitting there eating ceviche and having some quesadillas, and it was great. And about 2:30, of course there were some margaritas, at about 2:30 we noticed that the restaurateur had all of his folks running around taking things out of the outside and moving them inside, including the ceiling fans from the ceiling on the porch, which was right above our head. And the wind had picked up a little bit, so we figured, okay, it's probably time for us to go. I think they're gonna batten down the hatches. And we looked around, and lots of people were still out and walking about, but it was starting to get a little bit windy and a little bit rainy, so we headed home, and we were only about 10 minutes from the port. When we got into our condo, we realized that not only had they moved a few pieces of furniture, but they had moved everything from the outside in, including everything that was down on the beachfront. And people really were starting to kind of batten down the hatches. The wind picked up pretty strongly in the afternoon and early evening, and we watched it from our patio. Now, we were in a 7-story building. We were on the 4th floor. Just so you can get the gist of where we sat, we had 2 sets of huge sliding glass doors that looked out on the water. And on the other end was the door and a window into my bedroom that came from directly outside. So there was no internal hallway, okay? It was a beautiful complex, beautiful room. So we stood outside and we watched as the storm started coming to us. And, you know, we've all done that here in Florida, I think. And we thought, wow, this is really amazing and it's awesome. And we were watching the waves break and the whole 9 yards. The wind picked up pretty heavily, so we came back inside about 7:30, closed everything up, and just kind of hung out. It settled down a little bit, and we thought, okay, so maybe this isn't going to be as bad as we thought it would be. We hung out a little bit longer. There was not really a sunset, but we went back outside and was just watching. About 9 o'clock, we decided, okay, it's time to go in and close everything down. And I really did not realize how strong the wind was at about 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock at night. But we were huddled. The noise was so horrific. You could hear glass breaking all over the place, things flying, and we had these huge glass doors. All of us were really, really afraid that we were going to end up flying out the window. We huddled ourselves in a 4x4 square foot walk-in closet, and that's where we sat for about 6 hours. The sound was something I will never be able to explain, because you don't have any idea what's happening. You just can hear it. And the building was literally shaking. Now, you're in a concrete structure on the 4th floor, and you know there's people above you, and we had no idea what was happening. I think it was probably about, and of course we were drinking at the same time, I do have to confess, but it was the only way we made it through, because it was so scary. I mean, there's no place you can go. You're completely out of control. About 3 o'clock, I think we all just kind of crashed in the closet, because it was, the noise had kind of settled down a little bit. When we got up in the morning at sunrise, 5:30, 6 o'clock, and I opened those blinds, or the curtains from the back of our window, and looked outside at where we had had our dinner the night before, which was now gone. I mean, literally gone. The buildings around us, I would say 50 to 60% of the glass sliding doors were gone. The windows had just completely blown out. How we got missed from that, I don't know, but somebody was looking out for me, that's all I can say. 3 doors down from us on the same floor, we've heard the story the next morning, a gentleman and his wife had been next door visiting their neighbors. Now, why they would do that in the middle of the storm, I have no idea. But they went back to their room. He opened the door from the outside, and the pressure took the entire bed, king-size bed, through the glass doors and out the back of the unit. If they had physically been in that unit when they opened that door, they would have been gone. So the magnitude was unbelievable. And seeing the aftermath, I think, was the most frightening thing for me. Realizing what we had lived through and how we lived through it and didn't get injured was amazing. But I think, you know, when Chris asked me to do this story, I had something completely different. This was reality, and it just happened. There's so many different pieces I could share with you, but I think the piece that's most near and dear to my heart was waking up Monday morning with no power, no air conditioning, no way to communicate, because all communication was shut down by Mexico, and not having any control over your destiny. Literally, we were captives in the compound, because the property manager had boarded everything up because they were afraid of people coming in. I've never been in that kind of a situation before in my entire life. And what I really found amazing, there were 2 things. One is that I didn't lose it. That was really amazing, because I thought for sure I would. But somehow I found that my response to the situation could either be panic or acceptance. And I had to go with the acceptance, because I couldn't deal with the panic. So we put our hands in, our faith in the hands of the property manager, and his name was Sergio. And I teach leadership, okay? That's what I do for a living, and I teach attitude. And this gentleman had lost everything he had. His family was on the property with him Monday morning. He had 40 workers in this complex that were there. Their homes had been demolished. And he pulled together support for everybody. We had 250 guests there. The way he pulled that group of people together from all over the world and got us to move in a very calm pace, almost relaxed, was absolutely amazing to me. He would stand up, and we ended up having meetings 3 times a day. He was sending people off into the city to find out what was happening, because the communication structures were all gone. And he had no idea if the airport was open or not. We got multiple different reports, but this man, Sergio, very soft-spoken, very much proponent of his own people, had nothing but good things to say about how his people were going to take care of all of us. And they did. They fed us 3 meals a day, sandwiches. I don't ever want to eat another ham and cheese sandwich, thank you very much. But that's what we had. By day 2, on Tuesday, we were running out of water. And he knew that that was going to create a big problem, but there was no provisioning coming in. So he was sending people out to try to get supplies. He promised us in the afternoon of day 2 that he would continue to get more information and get us out of there at some point during the week. He didn't know how, and he asked us to trust him. And I think everybody really did. On Wednesday morning, we met for the 9 o'clock meeting, and he said, our provisions are almost gone. We can only do 2 meals a day, and we don't have any more water. So if you have anything in your rooms that you're willing to share with others, please do so. He also said, be ready to leave in a moment's notice, because we've got some provisioning happening right now. We're going to try to get everybody off property between now and Thursday, and I don't know how we're going to do it, but that's our effort. We got a knock on our door at, I don't know, noon on Wednesday, and this is after no AC, no running water, no toilets, folks, no power, no communication. We were actually literally flushing toilets with the water out of the spas. Knock on the door, get ready, we're out of here. They caravanned us in a car. They took the cars to the bus terminal. They got us on the buses. They drove the buses to the airport, and at that point I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to get home. Until we got to the airport, and the line was a mile long. And we're standing on gravel and dirt, looking at an airport that was almost completely demolished with no tower that's working. So US planes would not fly in. We had no idea, and we didn't know where we were going. Long story, I don't want to be too much time, but the reality of standing in that line and looking as far as I could see and not seeing an end to it, and knowing that we had been in the last people in that line, and then looking behind me and not being able to see the end of the line. It was that many people waiting to get out of there. And I will tell you, the most amazing thing is getting on an airplane without having to go through security. Has anybody ever done that? Because when they said, you want to go to Tijuana, you want to go to Mexico City, you want to go to La Paz, there were 3 or 4 choices, and all we said is, we want to go north. So our only north choice was Tijuana. Not a great choice, but closer to US. We got on a plane to Tijuana. It was flown out by Volaris. We were the rescue missions, which was kind of scary, being on a rescue mission. They took us, dropped us off in Tijuana. We took a cab from the airport to the border, and I literally walked across the border with my suitcase in hand, went through customs, got on the other side, grabbed a cab to San Diego Airport, and they put us on a red eye. We got home Thursday afternoon. My learnings from this were 2 things. One was about myself, that I didn't have control over anything that was going on there, and I did have control of how I responded to it, which I teach people all the time, but I really lived through that. I couldn't control the panic, but I could control my response to the panic. And because of that, and my friends with me, I made it through. It was the scariest thing I've ever experienced in my life. The other thing is recognizing that a humble leader truly can be very effective in times of chaos. And I think the last message for me was, thank God for the USA.